Hello and welcome back to Boob Buddies. I'm Noreen
And I'm Stephanie.
and we are your Boob Buddies. Gosh, it's been a while,
It
Steph.
has. It's been a little while.
Yeah, our
We're
life has
back.
been a little hectic, but we are back and we are thankful for everyone who continues to listen. We've gotten some really good feedback.
We
I mean,
have.
unfortunately, there are so many people that are going through this. So thank you to everyone out there who is listening and commenting. And again, if you need a Boob Buddy, we are here for you. You can email us. You can get in touch with us easily because we are here to help you. That's a big part of Boob Buddies.
It is, and we've gotten a lot of nice feedback from it. And some people have noticed that we took a little week or two off. So
Yeah.
here we are, and we're going to get right back
It's
into
been a
it.
month or two.
I know. I'm being nice. Maybe some people didn't notice that long. Yeah, we've been busy, but
Yeah.
here we are. We're back at it, and we're looking forward to it. And we are talking about a topic that is hot right now.
Yes. So we're talking about the topic of menopause because the topic, like Stephanie said, is so hot right now. But I think what a lot of
Literally,
people
hot flashing.
sweaty armpits, that's the story of my life.
Mm.
But I think what people don't realize, and I didn't realize it either, is that when you go through chemotherapy, your body is going through your ovaries shut down. So if you are someone who is getting your period regularly and you get breast cancer and you need chemotherapy, it puts your ovaries into a shutdown mode. And the one thing I did learn in going through this with Caitlin, because I was very extremely lucky that I did not need to have chemotherapy, and neither
Correct.
did
I
you,
did not.
right?
Nope.
So we were very
Very lucky.
fortunate. But having just gone through this, she's continuing to go through it, and Caitlin is doing great for any of you that saw that episode, and she'll be done with her treatments in July. But at 23 years old, this poor kid went into menopause. For anyone that's out there that has to go through chemo and you have regular periods, the chemotherapy will shut your ovaries down. And the one thing I learned from the doctor is when you are younger, sometimes they'll give you a drug to actually help protect your ovaries and therefore protect your eggs. But what the one oncologist explained to us was that because the chemotherapy does shut down your ovaries, so they're not working, you're not getting a period, it decreases your estrogen. And what happens is your eggs are somewhat protected because that could be a topic for
Mhm.
a whole other segment is what happens if you have not had children yet, like in the situation of Caitlin, you have that decision. Should I do an egg retrieval before to protect some of the eggs, make sure that they're protected from the chemotherapy and the drugs, or do I not? And again, that'll be a topic for another
Right.
day.
And I think it's important for us to talk about this because back in the day, I feel like breast cancer, people were a little bit older.
Yeah.
They might have already had their children, so they didn't really think of menopause. They didn't really think of, okay, well, I can't have kids now. Most of the people a while back, I felt like when you were diagnosed with cancer, you were a little bit older. Nowadays, it is unbelievable how many very, very young women are getting breast cancer in such early 20s, like Caitlin.
Yes, it is
And
astounding.
so this is something that you have to think about, that now this is going to put them into menopause. What's going to happen? How are they going to have a baby in the future? You want to give them that hope that they are going to be able to have a baby. So it is important to talk about this,
Right.
because I think the young cancer is definitely on the rise.
Without a doubt. And again, it's not just breast cancer, but it's any cancer where you are treated with chemotherapy. You will then be put into
Automatic
right, like
menopause.
a medical menopause
Hmm.
because of the chemotherapy. So let's talk about now. We won't hide it, right? Stephanie and I have both been through
We
menopause.
are
I went
in
into
the thick of it.
I went into surgical menopause because I had a hysterectomy, which I can talk to a little bit in a little while. But let's just go over what are the basics? What can people, because sometimes people feel crazy. I
Yeah.
am feeling, what are the symptoms?
I mean, there's so many of them. I remember speaking to my doctor and he sent me a questionnaire and he says, "Which one of these do you have?" And I go, "I'll tell you what I don't have." I think out of the 40 questions of what I had and didn't have, there was two that I didn't have. I think the first time I realized I was in menopause was a hot flash. I didn't know what it was. And I said, "Oh, I don't feel good." And all of a sudden from my feet, heat came rising. And I've always been a cold person, not inside, but outside, cold. And I was always feeling the cold. I was sweating. I'm like, "What's going on? Am I getting sick?" And I had sweat pouring down from my face and everywhere. And I was at work as a nurse, and someone said, "Steph, that's a hot flash." And I'm like, "It's a what?" I'm not old enough to have a hot flash. Sure enough, it was my first, and it was not my last. And every night at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can set your alarm that I was going to be up with a hot flash from 3 o'clock to 3:12 a.m. every night, soaking wet. And then comes the anxiety, which is something that I never, ever, thank God, suffered from anxiety. But I would lay there after I cleaned myself up from my sweaty clothes, and I'm laying there with anxiety, thinking of things I would normally never think of,
Right.
worrying about things I would normally never worry about, and not realizing that this is part of menopause.
Right.
It was very sad.
So, and the other symptoms, so there are so many other symptoms. People think of menopause, and that's exactly what they think of, a hot flash. But
Mhm.
truly, menopause, and again, it's a hot topic, it's all over the place. Doctors are talking about it now. There are specialists. I found an amazing doctor, which hopefully we'll get her on here,
Mhm. Hope so.
who is a menopause specialist. And I personally went to her for help for all the symptoms because, again, a lot of, and I hate to say it, even doctors, a lot of doctors think, "Oh, menopause, hot flash, well, you can get over it."
Right.
And what
Part
I
of life.
through the research I've done and through talking to other doctors is that even if you are an OBGYN doctor,
Right.
resident,
Mm.
get anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes of lecture time on what menopause is. So there's a lot of catching up that has to be done. So other symptoms of menopause other than
Oh,
hot
yep.
flashes, brain fog is a
Big
huge
time.
one. You
Big
know, you
time.
walk into a room, what was I
Right.
here for?
Or you go to
And
pick up your phone to do something and you're like, "Oh, what was I gonna do? What was I was just gonna do something. I don't remember what."
right,
Say, walking into a room.
right, not knowing why you're there. Yeah.
Words. You're
Words
having
like
you're having a conversation and you're talking about something that's totally regular and the simplest word, you can't remember the word.
yes,
I thought I was having a stroke one day. I was
I
talking to
know.
somebody and I was like, couldn't remember the word and I think it was like shower curtain. I mean, it was like so stupid. And I'm like, that thing that you hang up in the shower. I couldn't even think of the word shower.
I know.
And I really thought maybe I was getting early onset dementia.
I That's how I feel
Yeah.
sometimes. And also that speaking of attention, just a lot of women are diagnosed later in life. But again, we're talking about the menopause that is induced by
Right.
chemotherapy. But this is what happens if you have not gone through menopause. We're sorry.
Right. Right.
We're sorry to break it.
Right. Right. This does
But
happen.
that whole attention deficit.
Yeah.
And I feel
Brain
like
fog is what most people will recognize it as.
right,
Yeah.
definitely brain
Yeah.
fog, but even that typical ADD where
Yeah.
I'm doing 10 things all at once. The other day, I left my refrigerator literally
Mhm.
wide open,
Mhm.
and then I went and sat down to do something on the computer, and my
Right.
husband's like, "Nora, what are you doing?"
Right.
Because I had a thought like, "Oh, I have to send that report
Yeah.
in the middle of getting something out of the refrigerator open."
Open.
And that's kinda scary,
No,
right?
listen, it happens. It's happening more and more. I'll get in the car, I'm like, "Wait, where am I
I
going?" I have to write down a list if I'm going to the food store because 'cause I'll think I just need the 1 or 2 things, I'm gonna run in. The second I walk in there, I don't remember what I was there for.
right.
I have no clue, and I mean, I'm thinking about it, people's names, words. It was bad.
It
It
is.
was bad. So then the night sweats are something fierce. The
The other
brain fog,
brain fog, mood swings.
mood swings.
Just like if you're having your period, those
Yeah.
mood swings that you can get before, during, and or during and after your
Mhm.
period. The same happens when you have a lack of estrogen and you are put into that medical menopause. The other thing, which is just starting to come out now, near and dear to my heart, is joint aches and pains. Also, tendinitises, like pain in your actual
Mhm.
tendons. You could just wake up and you're like, "Oh, what's this just
Frozen
happened to me the
shoulder
other
too, I
day?"
think. Yeah.
Frozen
Yeah.
shoulder is huge.
Yeah.
So all of these things are symptoms of menopause and they are symptoms of what chemo has put you through. Shedding
Totally. And I
hormones.
think it happens with chemotherapy, it happens quick. So I
Yes.
think with us, we did not have the chemotherapy. So we kind of went through the natural, I'm gonna say natural aging, where it happened a little bit and a little worse and a little worse and worse. Where with the chemo, it just abruptly stops.
Right.
It just stops everything. So you're like, whoa, what the heck? And
Yeah.
everything all at once. And you really feel like you're losing it. Yeah, and then I have a lot of friends that call me and they don't want to go out. They
Right.
just wanna stay home, they don't wanna get dressed anymore, they don't wanna go out, they don't like the way they feel, they don't like the way they look, and every little thing irritates.
Right.
Somebody's tapping or a kid crying or any little thing that normally you would be able to tolerate. I was always a very, very easygoing person. Nothing bothered me. Someone would say, "You hear that dog barking?" And I'm like, "No, I don't hear it." Like every little thing I can hear. I'm just like hypersensitive to a lot of different things,
Right.
and I don't like it because I just feel like it's not me.
So I will say for me, I did not have chemotherapy, as I said, but I did have to have a hysterectomy
Right.
because of the genetic mutation that I have called Lynch syndrome. Oh my gosh, which puts me at high, which puts me at high risk for colon cancer, ovarian cancer, and uterine cancer. So the recommendation was after you were done having your kids, the recommendation is to get a hysterectomy.
Mhm.
So my path, that would have put me into immediate surgical menopause. So, like the doctor described, was having full periods. My estrogen, progesterone levels were normal.
Mm,
And he said, once we take everything out, you go into surgical menopause and you will feel awful. And the doctor that I went to, I have to say, he was amazing. I think he was ahead of his time. I actually went to three different doctors. And when I got to this doctor, he said to me, so again, I had had my breast cancer diagnosis. I found out that I had this genetic mutation. I was getting my periods. They did not recommend tamoxifen for
mhm.
me, which is a drug that
Most
typically
people.
most people, if you have an estrogen positive breast cancer, when you are done with treatment, they give you tamoxifen or they're called aromatase therapy.
Mhm,
And there are several different types of them. Tamoxifen is one
right.
that many
It's the most
people,
common one, I
it's the
think.
most
Yeah,
common, but that then also puts you into somewhat of menopause. It lowers your estrogen. It does not deplete it, which
right,
I just learned.
right.
It doesn't deplete it completely. But the oncologist that I went to said, my gosh, you caught this so early. You didn't need chemo. I do not feel like there is a need to put you on an estrogen blocker. So now when I went to the surgeon who said to me, "What is everyone telling you about estrogen?" I said, "Oh, no, no, I absolutely can't have that because I
Mhm,
have breast cancer."
mhm.
And he said, "Let's look at the patient in front of me. I have a patient who had breast cancer. Yes, it was estrogen and progesterone positive. You caught it so early. You had a bilateral mastectomy. The tissue was gone. Your lymph nodes were good. They did take out a couple and tested them. They did not want to put you on tamoxifen, which meant I would have had my period based on when my mother went through menopause for about another 7 to 8 years. And what he said to me is that that amount of estrogen would have been 4 times more than the amount of the little patch,
That
which was the
mhm.
bioidentical estrogen patch that he wanted to put on me before I went into surgery so that when I came out,
You had a little bump.
right, my
Mhm.
body didn't go into this absolute surgical
Station.
menopause.
Yeah.
And he said, "I
Smart
will
guy.
talk to your breast surgeon, I will talk to your oncologist, I will talk to anyone." This was a gyno-oncologist that I went to. Again, amazing man, ahead of his time, and he recommended that I just stay on it, a
Mhm.
very low dose, but back then,
How many years ago was that?
that was, gosh, in, it'll be in August, it'll be 9
Oh,
years.
so he was
So
definitely ahead of his time.
he was ahead of his
Yeah,
time, and back then, everyone was still petrified with the results of that Women's Health Initiative, which
right,
has now been debunked,
right,
where they were basically saying, "If you're on estrogen, you will get breast cancer."
right. Or
So,
if
of
you yeah, or
course,
if you had breast cancer and you go on estrogen, you're gonna get it back,
right.
whether you had a mastectomy or not.
Exactly. So I told him that I agreed. I talked to all my doctors. They said, "No, wow, he makes a lot of sense. So why don't you we'll put the patch on you." And then I gradually weaned off of it. So when I weaned off of it, that is when it hit me like a truck.
Right.
Literally hit me like a truck. I was sweating in the middle of the
Mhm.
night. Everything you described.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
sweating in the middle of the night. I was waking up, not being
Anxious.
able to go to sleep. I was so anxious. I had never ever had panic attacks. I was getting these horrible anxiety and panic
Mhm.
attacks. I started with these crazy light heart palpitations that no one could explain. I have now since realized it was menopause
Definitely, yeah.
because I don't know if people realize, but there are estrogen receptors all over our body,
I
in our brain, in our heart, in our intestines, in our lungs, everywhere.
mhm.
It's not just an ovary and uterus
Right,
type thing,
right,
right?
right.
So because of that, now you have zero estrogen, and that's why you have the brain fog, the forgetful.
Inflammation.
Oh
The
my gosh.
inflammation is ridiculous. Yeah.
Exactly, and the inflammation everywhere, and that was me too. I worked out a lot. I couldn't figure it out. I'm a physical therapist. Why is my shoulder hurting? Why is my
Mhm.
back hurting? Why is my neck? I had 2 neck surgeries, but why is my neck still hurting? So the list goes on and on. So again, that's what, you are hit like that Mack
Right,
truck, unlike
right.
when you're going through perimenopause and then
It's a little more gradual, yeah, with
yeah,
the perimenopause, but it still hits you, and
yeah.
it's you always think your mom went through it, alright, whatever, they went through it, and they didn't really talk about it. Now women
No, it
talk
wasn't
about
allowed.
it, and I have to say, and this will be another whole topic, but I am on the estrogen. I had a double mastectomy, and I am on the estrogen, and I didn't realize how much pain I was in until 2 weeks after my patch kicked in. I worked a 16-hour day, which is not unlike me as a nurse, bending, picking things up, and I thought to myself, "Oh my god, this is the first time in years that I haven't had back pain."
Right.
And I couldn't believe it. I called my doctor who prescribed it, and I said, "You're not gonna believe I have no pain in my body. Right now, I am telling you, I am 54 years old, and I do not have one pain in my body when I was living with pain, and I couldn't believe how bad it was till it's actually gone, and I
Yeah.
feel amazing."
That's
So we will talk
amazing.
about that more with the menopause. It just, everyone's like, "But you had breast cancer, and now you're taking hormone replacement therapy." Yes, I did, and I feel amazing, and I am not well, I was a little worried. You never know. I mean, anybody, I'm at a risk for cancer for anything. But I am very in tune with my body. I go for my colonoscopies, I go to my gynecologist. My quality of life is also important, and I can
Right.
see that my quality of life is back.
Right.
I'm not irritable, I'm not up at 3 AM sweating anymore, I don't have back pain. I was one that did not like to take medication, so I would just suffer through it, and I feel great. So we'll get back to that a little bit more in depth, but it's a great thing.
Right.
Estrogen is very important in your body, you don't
Right.
realize it.
Yes. And like you said, in the past, everyone just went through menopause, never talked about it.
Right.
And truly, the doctors just say to you, we'll just live with
It's
it.
part of life,
And so that's really important. We have tried to emphasize this on all of our episodes is that if you have a doctor that you can't talk to about this and they're brushing off those symptoms,
find another doctor.
find another doctor, right? Find a doctor who is a menopause specialist, even though you're technically not in menopause. If you're not in menopause, if you're younger and you're in menopause because of the chemotherapy, your doctor should be able to help you with things that can make you feel better. You should not have to suffer through it and know that you are not crazy, that you will feel better. That's the
Right,
other thing.
right.
There
It's
is
amazing.
right. There is an end in sight for you, and you will get back to a point where you are feeling much better. But in the meantime, there are things that can be done to help you. So what are some of those things?
So for me at this point, I'm on it 6 weeks and I'm taking some progesterone at night and I love it. It makes me sleep. It makes me not wake up in the middle of the night hot flashing. I wake up refreshed and relaxed as if I slept 8 hours and I did. I take my estrogen patch twice a week and it helps with inflammation and I don't have pain and I feel like I want to go for a walk. I don't get out of the car and I'm not all stiff. It's just amazing. And then a little testosterone. The doctor told me that I needed, and I'm taking that, and I feel great. I really, really do. And there's so many things that women don't talk about, and there's so many things that happen that you just not sure why it's happening, and you're maybe embarrassed to say something. And I went out to dinner with some women the other day, and we were talking about things, and we all had a little bit to share. And it's important that women understand that everybody is going through this together and they should be able to speak about it. And you
Right.
should find a doctor that's your advocate, not somebody that's just going to push you away and say, "Well, that's normal." Just you don't have to suffer through it.
Right.
You really don't.
And right. So if you have had breast cancer, used to be an absolute
Right.
you can't go on hormone therapy. Now it's very individualized. Every person is different and you have to find that doctor who will talk to you about it, who will consider it.
Mm,
And there are some patients, some people
that are not candidates.
that will
Right.
absolutely not be a
Right.
candidate for it. As far as the person who's going through chemotherapy
Mhm.
and is in menopause and feeling all these symptoms because of chemotherapy,
Right.
estrogen and progesterone and all those hormones are really not a viable solution for them at the
Right.
time. However, there are things that you can do like continue to exercise. Like studies show exercising, and that's a whole other topic that we will get into. But exercising through chemotherapy, through cancer, and it doesn't have to be intense,
Mm.
but even just walking and walking at a pace where you want to get somewhere in a hurry, that's all you have to do, but it dramatically improves the symptoms that you are feeling. The other thing, exercise, and then of course, nutrition. Of course, surrounding yourself, like we've talked over
Mhm.
a
Good
lot,
people. Yeah.
surrounding yourself with good
Yeah.
people. I think also understanding that all of this is normal, understanding that there is an end
It's not
in
permanent.
right,
It's
it's
just
not
it's just
permanent, and yes, just making sure even meeting with a nutritionist to figure
Mhm.
out what you can do from a nutrition standpoint, making sure you're getting your steps in, making sure you are spending time with friends and
Right.
families.
Support groups,
Yes,
ask the questions, don't be embarrassed because I can guarantee you whatever you're thinking, somebody else has already gone through and they've already
right,
figured it out. So
absolutely.
don't be afraid to say something. Don't say, "Well, I'm not, I'm afraid, I'm embarrassed." Everyone's going through it, and they need to hear that other people are going through it also. So I
Yeah.
really do believe that support groups are a big thing.
Yes.
Um,
Positive support groups, right?
right, right.
Because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of, I know, Facebook groups
Yeah,
and things like that where you can go down to it into a deep, dark
route,
hole.
yeah.
So positive support groups. And again, I know we've promised this, but at some point we will put
We will.
together a local support group where we can all get together and meet our boo buddies,
Right.
right? Because
Definitely,
we would
definitely.
absolutely love to do
Yeah,
that.
we would
So
love to have everybody here and
yeah,
talk, and a safe place.
right.
A safe place where you can say whatever, ask whatever. And listen, between Noreen and I, if we don't know your answer, we know somebody that does know the answer. We have
Absolutely.
an amazing, amazing network. So we get our information from people that are well educated, and we just hope to deliver it to you so that people can feel confident in what their decisions are. And this is not for everybody. But again, I was not on chemotherapy. Thank goodness I did not have to go through that. And I did have breast cancer, but I'm still allowed to have hormones. And I will
Exactly.
keep an eye on my body.
Right.
I'm being very smart about it. And
Right.
I'm not going to the highest level to feel like an 18-year-old again. I just want to feel like my old self. And it's working.
Right. Good.
Yeah, I feel great.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
The other thing that can be impacted, and we did a whole episode on this, but it's libido and intimacy. Your libido, when you don't have those hormones, goes way down. Things are a little more dry, right? And there's no desire.
Desire.
And that again, we're telling you this because it's normal. And we had a whole episode on this. It's a moment in time, and there are ways making sure you talk to your partner.
Right.
We talked about there are other ways of being intimate other than just sex. And so
Right.
making sure that you have open lines of communication with your partner, I think is
Right.
the most important. Let them know how you're
Definitely.
feeling. But I think for you, knowing that this is normal, I think that really helps. And again, I keep saying the same thing over and over, knowing that there will be an end, that
Right.
you will get back to that some semblance of normal. Your normal will now be a new, but you will feel much better in the end.
And definitely, I cannot stress that talking to your partner, because they're thinking it's them. That
Yeah.
what did I do wrong? She's not
Right. I
attracted to me anymore.
know.
We're together so long. She's bored of me. It has nothing to do with that at all. But that's what they are thinking. So they need to be let in on the secret that it's it's not you. It's it's me, and I'm going to get through this. And again, just holding hands and being together is an important thing, but also that communication. A lot of times you see anybody who's listening in their 50s and 40s, divorce rates are super, super high. Why? Because probably the woman's libido is down in the dumps. The guy's frustrated, thinks, well, she doesn't love me anymore. And then things happen and they break up. If there was that communication, or you tried to maybe get that help like that we've all wanted, the communication is key when it comes to menopause, because
Right.
your partner really has to understand, they have to be compassionate and know that you're trying to do something to get out of that mode.
Right. And again, it's a moment in time. So they
Right.
just have to hopefully they can be understanding with
Right.
everything that you're going through, because not only are you going through the fact that you've now been put into this medical menopause,
Mhm.
but you're going through dealing with that diagnosis.
Right.
You're going through some type of surgery eventually. If you didn't have it before chemo, you're probably headed for it after chemo,
Right.
maybe even radiation. So all of those things come into play when you're talking about intimacy and
Yeah.
even the desire, let
Right.
alone,
Right.
let alone
Anything.
the lack of estrogen,
Right. It's
right?
everything. And then also, if you are going through chemotherapy, you might be losing your hair, so you don't feel as sexy, and you're going through a very, very tough time. And it's like Maureen said, it's just a period in time. You will get through it, and you will be stronger for it. And you'll look back, and don't let the cancers define you. Let how you dealt with everything define you. It's not Cancer's not your life. That's not. You're just going to get through it, and you're going to be hopefully happy and healthy.
And again, the most important thing to remember is you are not alone, and that this is very, very normal for what you're going through. And if you are feeling alone, because I just had my cousin was recently diagnosed with cancer. And I said to her, even though you have all the support in the world, I know that you're feeling alone right now. She
Mhm.
said, oh my
You hit
gosh,
the nail on
how
the
did
head.
you
Yeah.
know that? Because you could have all the support in the world, but the person sitting next to you may have never experienced this, so they don't know how you're feeling. But know that you are not alone. If you are in that moment where you're feeling really alone, make sure you reach out to someone. Push yourself to reach out to someone, a friend, a boo buddy,
Mhm.
we don't know you, but I've had people just call me and
Yeah,
say, I know I don't know you, but
but we feel like we know you.
so right, someone gave me your phone number or and I am more than happy to help you, but it's really important to not just put yourself in a corner
For
and
me, and just
right, and just
advocate for yourself. Be your own advocate.
exactly.
Yes, it's
Exactly.
definitely important that you know that and advocate. And this is not something you have to go through alone. And it doesn't make you any less of a woman if you need a little help with estrogen or progesterone or whatever else you need to get through this. It's actually more empowering to reach out for help and get the help that you need.
Right.
So we want you to reach out if you need anything.
And again, the hormones are pretty much after everything,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Once you
You have to obviously get through your chemo and your radiation
right,
and stuff. I'm talking somebody who did not have
right,
the chemo.
right.
If you are going through the chemo, you need to get through the chemo, you need to get through the breast reconstruction if that's what you decided or whatever your journey is, and then
And
we'll
get through
talk
the
about
rest of your
hormones. Yeah,
treatment.
I know.
Hopefully your body will bounce back, especially if you are younger.
Yeah,
It now if you're older and you are already in menopause, this is not going to impact you as much.
right.
Right? And you may have already been on hormone replacement therapy, and I will tell you, they will make you stop it right away if that is the case. So you may experience some of these symptoms again. But if you are someone who was in menopause, who never was on hormone replacement therapy, and you go through chemo, you will not feel all of these effects as
Right.
badly,
It's not so dramatic.
not as
Yeah.
dramatic as someone who has never experienced it or a younger person who still has
Mhm.
regular cycles.
Right. But again, we are seeing these cancers diagnosed so much younger nowadays.
Way too
A
young,
lot. Yeah,
way
and
too young.
not just like a stage 1 or 2. We're looking at stage 4s,
Yeah,
20 something years old.
right. I
So,
know. So
listen to your
remember
body.
self exams
Yes.
monthly in the shower. I think what is it? A week before your
Week
period
before
or
your period.
a week before
Yeah,
your
I think it's a
period?
week before. That's when
Make
you're
sh-
most hormonal, and if there's something there, it should be more inflamed.
right.
Just do it all the
And
time.
and make sure you are doing it in the shower is easy because it's slippery. It's really important because early detection truly does save lives.
Yes. Get your mammograms and
Yes.
don't, go for your annual, gynecological appointments, pap smears, all that stuff. It's good to be prevention. Prevention is key.
Yes.
If you can prevent something from happening, your colonoscopies, all of that, listen to your body.
Absolutely.
Don't just poo-poo it and say, "Well, it's just I'm getting old." If you feel like there's something wrong, go with your gut feeling and get it checked. It's
Yes.
better to be safe than sorry.
Don't ignore anything at all.
Yeah.
That has
No, yeah.
absolutely saved my life
Mine too.
at least twice.
Yes. Yeah,
At least
exactly.
twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I was vigilant and I went for my appointments and I could have been like, "I'm gonna skip this time," and I didn't, and I went, and I'm glad I did. Cinco de Mayo was my 13-year anniversary.
Yes.
Yes, it was 13 years, so I'm feeling very, very blessed, and I'd like to, share those blessings with everybody. So,
Yes.
please reach out, let us know if you need anything.
Right. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember that the scars tell our stories, the stars guide our journey, and you are never, ever alone. Thank you so much for tuning into Boo Buddies. If you know a Boo Buddy that needs us, please refer them to this podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you know how to get in touch with us. You can email us, you can drop a comment below these, and please share this with anyone you think that it might help.
And be gentle with yourself, give yourself grace.
Have a great day.
Bye.